Welcome to Implementing Scrum Unscripted by Michael Vizdos. This is the deep dive series where we really try to cut through the noise and get right to the heart of what matters in Agile practices.
Exactly. And if you're maybe new to Michael Vizdos, just a quick intro. He's got over 30 years under his belt working with, thousands of teams all over the world, real-world, practical Scrum experience.
Yeah, he's been a certified Scrum Master since way back in 2004, a certified Scrum Trainer since 2006, creator of ImplementingScrum.com.
And really relevant for today, he's actually worked directly with school systems integrating Scrum, so he knows this space.
Definitely. And as you're listening, please feel free to drop any questions you have for Michael in the comment section. He really does try to respond as soon as he can.
And just a quick reminder for everyone, we're the hosts here, kind of the voices for this AI-powered series that Michael's constantly testing and refining using NotebookLM.
That's right. And he's been really careful about the resources for this deep dive. He's only using materials he's personally written or vetted or, really trusts.
Okay, so today we're diving into something super common, but also, I think, really compelling. We got a direct request from a listener. She's just started a new role.
Right. The Exceptional Student Services Director, ESS Director for a charter school district in Arizona.
Exactly. And this isn't just any district. They've been implementing Scrum, as they put it, for over 10 years. So the whole leadership team, everyone, is really immersed in this Agile mindset shift.
Wow, 10 years. That's significant. So what's her specific question then?
Well, she laid it out pretty clearly. She said, I've just started on a team that is implementing Scrum. The organization asked me to get up to speed on Scrum, but I know nothing about it. Help me crosswalk my professional background with specific school administration-focused examples with how I can do this within the Scrum framework. Please help.
Okay, that's a fantastic real-world situation. And maybe you, listening right now, you're in a similar boat. You're a seasoned professional, maybe decades of experience, stepping into a new job where Scrum feels like learning a whole new language.
Mm-hmm. You're probably wondering, how does all my hard-won expertise fit into this structured, agile thing?
Exactly. But here's the really interesting part and kind of the core of our deep dive today. We're going to show you that the powerful principles behind Scrum, they aren't actually brand new concepts you have to learn from scratch.
Far from it. It's more like Scrum formalizes, maybe enhances a lot of the effective leadership and teamwork practices you've probably been using every single day in school administration.
Right. So we're going to connect the dots. Yeah. Show you exactly how your deep non-Scrum expertise maps onto this framework. The goal is to turn that feeling of confusion, maybe overwhelm, into real confidence.
And maybe let's state the single most important takeaway right up front, something to keep in mind as we talk. Scrum is not some rigid rulebook that forces you to throw out your valuable experience.
Definitely not.
It's actually a lightweight framework. It's built on the very same principles, collaboration, always improving, focusing on getting things done that great school administrators, like our listener Sharon, have mastered over their careers.
That's such a key point. Your background isn't a disadvantage. It's actually a huge asset. So let's get started. Let's unpack this for Sharon, make these connections really tangible.
Yeah, this is where it gets fun, I think. Right. We're not just defining Scrum terms. We're showing how her specific experience, her resume, her job description, it all fits.
And just remember, while we're focusing on Sharon's situation, an ESS director, the way we're breaking this down, the format, the flow, you can use this same approach to think through your own questions about implementing Scrum, whatever your role is.
Okay, where should we start? Maybe the foundations. Scrum theory and the values.
Yeah, let's do that. It might sound a bit academic at first, Scrum theory, but I promise you'll see the connections to Sharon's world almost immediately. So Scrum is built on two main ideas, empiricism and lean thinking.
Right. Empiricism just means basically learning from doing, making decisions based on what you actually observe, on real experience, not just assumptions.
And lean thinking.
That's all about maximizing value by cutting out waste. Focusing on what's truly essential, getting rid of anything that doesn't add value.
Okay, so how does that connect to, say, Sharon's job description?
Well, it's right there, her JD says. Through data-informed decision-making and a commitment to continuous improvement, the ESS Director actively seeks opportunities to enhance student outcomes and lead innovative practices.
Data-informed decision-making, that sounds a lot like empiricism.
It's exactly empiricism in action.
Yeah.
She's expected to look at the data, student achievement, growth data, program effectiveness metrics, all things central to her role, and use that observed information to guide what the department does next.
It's not just gut feeling, it's looking at the evidence.
Precisely. And that ties directly into the 3 pillars of Scrum: transparency, inspection, and adaptation.
Okay, break those down in this context.
Well, you need transparency. The data, the situation, has to be visible, clear, easy for everyone involved to understand. Then you inspect it. You look closely at what that data is telling you, what's working, what isn't.
And then the key step, adaptation.
Right. You adapt your plans, your strategies based on what you learned during that inspection. Shannon's role in monitoring and evaluating program effectiveness using data on student outcomes, that's literally her job description, telling her to practice transparency, inspection, and adaptation every day.
It's baked right in. She's already doing it.
Exactly. She's using evidence to see what works for students and adjusting course accordingly. That's empiricism. That's Scrum theory in practice.
Okay, beyond the theory, Scrum also has 5 core values: commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage.
And Michael Vizdos often uses that acronym: force, focus, openness, respect, commitment, and he adds extreme courage. It emphasizes that these aren't passive ideas. They're about how you act, how the team behaves.
And again, looking at Sharon's background, her resume, her LinkedIn, these values really jump out, don't they?
They really do. Think about commitment. Her resume shows over 30 years dedicated to special education. That's a deep, sustained commitment to the mission, to those students.
Absolutely. And her leadership roles, developing policies, procedures for ESS programs, that requires incredible focus, right? You've got complex regulations, diverse student needs, budgets. You have to stay focused to get anything done.
Definitely. She's clearly committed to that mission and focused on making it happen. Then there's openness and respect. Her resume talks a lot about coordinating with staff, families, community agencies.
Collaboration.
You can't do that effectively without being open to different perspectives, without actively listening, really listening to parents' concerns, or maybe feedback from general ed teachers. And you have to genuinely respect everyone involved, the students, families, all the different professionals. It's about valuing every voice to build trust.
Which leads us to the last one: courage. Her resume specifically mentions she can facilitate difficult IEP meetings.
Yeah, anyone in education knows those can be intense.
Right. Navigating those high-stakes, sometimes emotional conversations takes real courage. Leading change in the school system, pushing for innovative practices like her JD mentions, that takes courage too.
It's the courage to address the tough stuff head on, even when it's uncomfortable, to advocate for what students need. Again, these aren't new skills she has to learn for Scrum. They're fundamental to her decades of experience.
Okay, this is a good place to bring up something. Michael Vizdos warns about this idea of lipstick on a pig.
Ah, yes. This is crucial for anyone starting with Scrum, especially in an established organization. It's about avoiding superficial changes.
What does that mean exactly, lipstick on a pig, in this context?
It means just slapping Scrum labels onto existing things without actually changing how work gets done. You know, calling your regular weekly meeting a daily Scrum or renaming an old committee the Scrum team, but nothing fundamental shifts.
Or, like Michael mentions in his article, maybe replacing real conversations about the work with just, I don't know, Jira tickets or Trello cards without any of the needed context.
Exactly. So for Sharon, our ESS Director, it means she can't just call her existing reports increments or her current teams Scrum teams. Real implementation, real change requires genuine conversations and providing that crucial context.
Her job is to lead innovative practices, so she needs to push for actual changes in how they work together, not just new names for old habits.
Right. Like, instead of just running through a task list in a meeting, maybe she facilitates a real sprint retrospective where the team has a focused conversation about how to amplify the good, as Michael puts it. How can we, the team, improve our process?
So it fosters that culture of continuous improvement where the team owns the solutions, not just waiting for top-down direction.
Precisely. It avoids that trap of just adopting the vocabulary without embracing the underlying principles and mindset shift.
Okay, so we've covered the why, the theory, and values. Now let's get into the who the Scrum team accountabilities.
Sounds good. The Scrum Guide is pretty specific here. A Scrum team has exactly 3 accountabilities: 1 Scrum Master, 1 Product Owner, and the developers.
And that's it, right? No other roles, No sub-teams, no hierarchy within that team.
Correct. They're designed to be cross-functional, meaning they have all the skills needed to get the work done in self-managing, and usually small, 10 people or fewer, to keep communication nimble.
Let's start with the product owner, the PO. What's their main job?
The PO is the person solely accountable for maximizing the value of the product the team creates. In Sharon's world, the product is really the packet of services and supports provided to students with disabilities.
Okay, maximizing value, how do they do that?
Through effective management of the product backlog. That means creating and clearly communicating the overall product goal, creating the list of work items, the product backlog itself, ordering those items based on value or priority, and making sure that backlog is transparent and understood by everyone.
It's just one person.
Right.
Not a committee deciding.
One person. Clear accountability. And looking at Sharon's job description, you can see the parallels immediately.
Yeah. Where specifically?
It says she's instrumental in aligning the department's efforts with the district's mission to inspire students to make better choices and be champions of their own learning.
That sounds like a pretty clear product goal for the ESS department, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's the long-term vision she's responsible for driving. And her other duties, developing the vision for special ed programs, allocating resources, overseeing evaluations, coordinating with agencies, these directly map to the PO's job.
So she's defining the product, the ESS services, prioritizing the work needed to improve it in the product backlog, and ensuring stakeholders understand what they're doing and why.
Spot on. Let's make it concrete. The product goal could be something like, all students with disabilities receive high-quality, individualized special education services that maximize their academic growth and foster independent life skills, aligning with the district's mission.
Okay, that's the North Star. What about the product backlog items?
That would be the prioritized list of everything needed to get closer to that goal. Things like maybe develop new behavior intervention program, or revise the IEP template for better clarity, or implement district-wide professional development on inclusive practices, or streamline the evaluation process for kids new to the district.
And Sharon, as the PO, would be responsible for ordering that list, making sure the team tackles the most valuable things first.
Correct. She owns the what and the why.
Okay, next, accountability. The Scrum Master, or SM, what's their focus?
The Scrum Master is focused on making Scrum work effectively. They establish Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. They coach the team in self-management and cross-functionality. They work to remove impediments blocking the team's progress. And they ensure the Scrum events are positive, productive, and kept within their time boxes.
So not a manager in the traditional sense.
No, very much a servant leader. They serve the Scrum team, they serve the product owner, and they even serve the wider organization by helping them understand and interact effectively with the Scrum team.
And looking at Sharon's background again, there seems to be a strong connection here too.
Absolutely. Her resume highlights her as a consultant and trainer specializing in exceptional student services and leadership. She's got deep experience in training, coaching, and mentoring education teams. And remember that line about facilitating difficult IEP meetings?
Yeah, that facilitation skills seems key for a Scrum Master.
It really is. Think about it. Coaching team members in self-management, helping school psychologists, therapists, teachers work together better as a unit. That's right, in her wheelhouse.
And removing impediments.
That could be anything. Addressing communication breakdowns between special ed and general ed staff, navigating bureaucratic hurdles to get resources, helping resolve conflicts within the team or between the team and stakeholders. Her experience makes her well-suited to identify and tackle those blockers.
And ensuring the Scrum events are productive.
Her facilitation skills are perfect for that, making sure sprint planning is collaborative, the daily Scrum stays focused, the sprint review generates good feedback, and the retrospective leads to real improvements.
So, maybe an example. Instead of just telling the team, you need to collaborate better with Gen Ed, what would a Scrum Master do?
A Scrum Master, drawing on Sharon's skills, might facilitate a discussion during the sprint retrospective. Ask powerful questions like, what's getting in the way of effective collaboration? What experiments could we try next sprint to improve communication with the third grade team? It shifts ownership to the team.
Or coaching staff through a tricky implementation of a new program, helping them figure out solutions themselves rather than just giving answers.
Exactly. Fostering that self-management and collective intelligence. It's a very different stance than traditional management.
Okay, the third, accountability. The developers. Now, this term can sometimes cause confusion, especially outside of software.
Yeah, it's crucial to understand. In Scrum, developers are simply the people on the Scrum team who are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. They're the ones doing the work outlined in the sprint backlog.
So not just coders.
Definitely not. They figure out the how, they collaboratively create the plan for the sprint backlog, they ensure their work meets the definition of done, they adapt their plan each day toward the sprint goal during the daily scrum, and they hold each other accountable as professionals.
So in Sharon's world, who are the developers?
It's her core special education staff,
Yeah.
the school psychologists doing evaluations, the 504 coordinators, the related service providers, speech therapists, OTs, PTs, counselors, and of course the special education teachers implementing the IEPs.
They're the ones doing the hands-on work.
Right. They're developing and implementing IEPs, overseeing evaluations, providing services, analyzing student data, adapting curriculum. They're the ones creating the increment of value for the students each stint.
That makes sense. They're the experts doing the actual service delivery.
Precisely. Now, there's a really important point here, something Michael discussed in an Implementing Scrum video based on a participant named Holly's experience.
Okay, what's that?
One person should not try to be both the product owner and the Scrum Master for the same team at the same time.
Wearing both hats. Why is that a problem?
Well, Holly found, and it's a common observation, that it often leads to reduced effectiveness. The two roles have different focuses, sometimes conflicting priorities. It can easily slip back into a command and control style, which undermines the whole point of Scrum's self-management.
So even though Sharon has experience that could fit either role.
Right. Given her extensive background, she could likely excel as either a PO or an SM. But the organization needs to ensure those roles are filled by different people for a given team. That separation is really key for a healthy, effective Scrum implementation. It avoids conflicts of interest and keeps the focus clear for everyone.
Good warning. Okay, we've got the theory, the values, the who. Let's talk about the when and what, the Scrum events, the rhythm of Scrum.
Right, the heartbeat. And the core of that rhythm is the sprint itself.
The container for everything else.
Exactly. It's a fixed length event. 1 month or less, could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever works best. During the sprint, ideas get turned into value. All the other events planning, daily scrums, the review, the retrospective happen within the sprint.
And a key rule is that quality doesn't decrease, and the sprint goal shouldn't be changed once the sprint starts.
Correct. It provides stability and focus for the developers. And honestly, this idea of working in cycles, in sprints, fits really naturally into school administration, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got academic quarters, semester planning cycles, annual compliance deadlines, budget cycles. Schools run on rhythms.
Exactly. Sharon's experience with maintaining full compliance and preparing required reports means her team is already used to working towards fixed deadline within iterative cycles. A sprint could easily align with the time needed to prepare for a state audit or roll out a new student support initiative within a specific grading period.
It just gives it a more formal structure and name. Okay, so the first event within the sprint is sprint planning.
Right. This is where the Scrum team collaborates to plan the work for the upcoming sprint. It answers 3 key questions.
Which are?
First, why is the sprint valuable? This is where they define the sprint goal. Second, what can be done this sprint? Here, the team selects items from the product backlog they believe they can complete. And third, how will the chosen work get done? This is where the developers create their plan, their sprint backlog.
So for Sharon's ESS team, what might sprint planning look like?
It would be a collaborative session. Let's say the product owner, maybe Sharon, maybe someone else, proposes focusing on onboarding new staff. The team discusses why this is valuable now. Maybe the sprint goal becomes successfully onboard all new ESS staff and complete their initial compliance training modules by the end of the 2-week sprint to ensure they're ready to support students effectively.
Okay, that's the why. Then the what?
They'd pull specific items from the product backlog related to that goal, maybe. Create onboarding checklists, schedule mandatory training on IEP system, finalize mentor assignments.
And the how?
That's up to the developers, the psychologists, teachers, therapists involved. They break down those items into smaller tasks and figure out who will do what. They own that plan.
Got it. So after planning, the sprint starts. And then comes the daily Scrum.
Yep, every day, same time, same place for the developers, and it's short 15 minutes max.
And crucially, it's not a status report meeting for a manager, right?
Absolutely not. It's for the developers, by the developers. The purpose is to inspect their progress towards the sprint goal and adapt their plan, the sprint backlog, for the next 24 hours. It's about identifying impediments.
So instead of everyone saying, I did this, I'm doing that, what's the conversation like?
It's focused on the goal. Maybe someone says, okay, our goal is to complete 10 evaluations by Thursday. To hit that, what do we need to accomplish today? Are there any blockers? I'm stuck waiting for records from the previous district for student X. That's an impediment.
So it surfaces problems quickly.
Exactly. It fosters that quick adaptation and self-management. Someone else might say, I can help make that call, or let's sync up right after this to figure that out. It keeps the focus on achieving the collective goal, not just individual tasks. Even virtually, a quick stand-up works.
Okay, fast forward to the end of the sprint. What happens then?
2 key events: the sprint review and the sprint retrospective. Let's take the review first.
This is where they show off the work, like a demo.
It's more than just a demo, though that can be part of it. The main purpose is to inspect the outcome of the sprint, the increment, and determine future adaptations to the product backlog. The Scrum team presents their results to key stakeholders.
Stakeholders like principals, parents, district leaders.
Could be any of those, depending on the sprint goal and the increment. It's a working session. The team explains what product backlog items are done, they discuss challenges they faced, and crucially, they collaborate with stakeholders on what to do next. Progress toward the overall product goal is discussed.
So for Sharon's team, maybe they completed that new curriculum module adaptation.
Right. In the sprint review, they could present it to some general ed teachers and maybe a curriculum specialist, get their direct feedback. Is this usable? Is it clear? What's missing? That feedback then informs the product backlog for future sprints.
Or maybe they present the analysis of recent student achievement data.
Exactly. Present it to district leadership and maybe parent advisory groups.
Right.
Discuss what was accomplished in the sprint related to this data goal and what has changed in our environment that might impact next steps. It connects directly back to Sharon's duties around data analysis and communication, making the work and its impact transparent.
Okay, so review is about the product. What about the retrospective?
The sprint retrospective is about the process and the team. It's where the Scrum team inspects itself and creates a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. It's focused on increasing quality and effectiveness.
How does that work? What do they inspect?
They look at everything: individuals, interactions, processes, tools, their definition of done. How did things go last sprint? What went well? What problems cropped up? How did we handle them?
And this is where that Tuckman model comes in. Forming, storming, norming, performing.
Yes, it can be a really useful lens here. The team can explicitly discuss, where are we as a team? Are we still kind of storming when it comes to collaborating with the middle school? How can we move towards norming or performing?
And Sharon, with her background in training and mentoring, could really facilitate that kind of reflection.
Absolutely. So maybe after that sprint where they rolled out the new behavior intervention program, the retrospective might reveal communication challenges between the ESS staff and classroom teachers.
Okay, so they identify a problem. What then?
They brainstorm potential solutions and then commit to trying 1 or 2 specific actionable improvements in the next sprint. Maybe it's develop a shared FAQ document for teachers about the new program, or schedule brief weekly check-ins between the ESS lead and the grade level chairs.
So it's not just complaining, it's about concrete actions.
Exactly. And focusing on just 1 or 2 impactful changes avoids that feeling of being overwhelmed by a huge list of problems that never get addressed, that hundreds of items issue someone mentioned in Michael's video. It makes continuous improvement manageable and real. It builds that learning muscle.
Okay, great breakdown of the events. Let's just pause here for a second. Remember, everyone listening, what we're doing here is just one example applying Scrum to an ESS Director role.
Yeah, the key is thinking about how this structure, this way of crosswalking your experience, could apply to your unique situation, whatever that might be. Don't hesitate to adapt this thought process.
And please, if questions are bubbling up, drop them in the comments below. Michael really does want to engage and help you untangle your specific challenges.
Definitely. And hey, if you're finding this valuable, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, maybe share it with colleagues who are also navigating Scrum. It helps us keep these deep dives going.
Also, check the description for this deep dive. We've put links to some extra learning resources there to help you on your journey with implementing Scrum.
All right, should we tackle the last piece? The Scrum artifacts and their commitments.
Let's do it. These are the tangible things, right? The things that make the work and the goals visible.
Exactly. They're designed specifically to maximize transparency and focus. There are 3 artifacts: the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment.
And each has a commitment tied to it.
Correct. The product backlog has the product goal, the sprint backlog has the sprint goal, and the increment has the definition of done. These commitments give context and focus to the artifacts.
Okay, let's start with the product backlog and its commitment, the product goal. We touched on this earlier.
We did. So the product backlog is that dynamic, ordered list of everything known to be needed for the product, in Sharon's case, the ESS services. It's the single source of truth for the work the Scrum team does. It evolves over time.
And the product goal.
That's the long-term objective, the future state the team is working towards. It provides that why behind the work in the backlog. And as we said, Sharon's job description basically handed her a product goal: ensuring students with disabilities thrive while maintaining compliance. That's the big picture aim.
So the product backlog itself would be that living list of everything the ESS department could do to achieve that goal: policy updates, new assessments, PD programs, outreach efforts.
Exactly. Emergent, ordered, constantly refined based on new learning and changing needs. It's never really done.
Okay, then the sprint backlog and its commitment, the sprint goal.
Right. The sprint backlog is composed by the developers during sprint planning. It's made up of 3 things: the sprint goal, the why for this specific sprint, the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, the what, and the developer's actionable plan for delivering the increment, the how.
And the sprint goal provides that laser focus for the duration of the sprint. It doesn't change.
Correct. It gives the developers coherence and flexibility. If the how needs to change during the sprint, they can adapt as long as they stay focused on achieving that sprint goal.
So going back to that example, if the ESS team's sprint goal is complete all initial eligibility evaluations for new students by October 15th, the sprint backlog contains the specific tasks.
Yep. Contacting families, scheduling the assessments, writing the reports, coordinating with teachers, all the detailed steps the developers plan to take to meet that goal within the sprint timeframe. The daily Scrum then helps them track progress against that plan and adapt as needed.
Makes sense. Finally, the increment and its commitment, the definition of done, DOD.
Right. An increment is a concrete, usable piece of value delivered during the sprint that moves the team closer to the product goal. Each increment builds on all the previous ones, and crucially, it must be usable.
And the definition of done is what tells you if it's actually usable and meets the quality standard.
Exactly. The DoD is a formal, shared understanding of what it means for work to be complete for that product or service. It ensures quality and transparency. It's agreed upon by the whole Scrum team. And you can, and often do, deliver multiple increments within a single sprint.
Okay, let's get concrete again. An increment for Sharon's team might be a completed IEP for a student.
Perfect example. That's a tangible piece of value. But what does done mean for that IEP?
Ah, that's where the DoD comes in.
Right. The DoD for an IEP increment could be something like, IEP is fully compliant with IDEA and state regs, all required sections filled, signed by parents, guardians, and staff, entered accurately in the student info system, and copies distributed to family and relevant school staff.
So no ambiguity. Everyone knows what standard needs to be met for it to count as done. And that aligns perfectly with Sharon's accountability for overseeing those processes and maintaining records.
Precisely. Or another increment could be that new professional development module, the DoD might be. Content developed and stakeholder reviewed, pilot session run with positive feedback, all materials finalized and ready for rollout.
So the DoD is critical for ensuring quality and preventing misunderstandings about whether work is truly finished.
Absolutely. It creates transparency and builds trust because everyone understands the shared quality standard the team is committed to.
Wow, okay. We've covered a lot, connecting all those Scrum elements back to Sharon's world.
Yeah, and hopefully it's becoming clear how her existing skills and the demands of her job naturally align with this framework.
So let's explicitly circle back to that one key takeaway we mentioned at the start.
Right. The main thing to remember is this. Scrum is not about throwing away your hard-earned experience. It's not a rigid system you have to force yourself into.
Instead,
it's a lightweight framework that actually formalizes and, frankly, enhances the very things that make great school administrators successful. Already, collaboration, continuous improvement, focusing on delivering real value.
So your background, Sharon's background, anyone's professional experience, it's not a barrier. It's actually your biggest asset in making Scrum work effectively.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so based on everything we've discussed, what's one concrete, actionable thing our listener, Sharon, or anyone listening could do right now?
Good question. Here's an idea. Take one specific process or maybe a recurring challenge that you deal with in your current role. Just pick one thing.
Okay, got one in mind.
Now, try to articulate its product goal. What's the ultimate long-term objective you're trying to achieve with that process? Or by solving that challenge. Write it down.
Get clear on the why.
Then, think about the very next immediate usable increment you could deliver that moves you slightly closer to that goal. What's a small, concrete step you could complete in, say, the next week or two?
And define what done looks like for that specific increment. What criteria must it meet to be considered complete and valuable?
Exactly. Just doing that little exercise, identifying a goal, the next increment, and its definition of done can really help you see how Scrum applies practically to your everyday work, making it less abstract.
That's a great, tangible first step. Try it out.
And remember, this whole deep dive was focused on one specific example, the ESS Director role. Even if that's not your exact situation, hopefully, the way we broke it down, the format and flow, can serve as a model for you to think through your own context.
Yeah, use this as a template. How does your experience map to the values, the roles, the events, the artifacts? And check out other deep dives in this series for more examples in different settings.
And please keep the conversation going. Ask Michael Vizdos your questions in the comments. Or share the one actionable takeaway you identified from this deep dive. Michael genuinely enjoys being an accountability partner to help you follow through.
He really does. So don't be shy.
Also, if you found this useful, if it sparked some ideas, please give the episode a like, maybe subscribe to the channel. It really does help support what we're doing here, and make sure you catch future deep dives.
And lastly, if you have a complex situation, a real challenge you're facing with implementing Scrum, submit it. We're always looking for detailed scenarios to untangle in future deep dives.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Implementing Scrum Unscripted.
Focus! #deliver.